worker finally brought over some tomatoes for me to plant, and I'm about to put the first one in here. This is a brand new name to me, Chadwick Che? I don't know how to pronounce that. Where the heck did that come from? I don't know. But I'm going to be planting a few of his tomato plants in along this wooden wall that's on the sun side of main crop garden number 5. Being on the sun side, it's going to get kind of double heat here. Of course, the rays of the sun coming down on it, but then there'll be reflection and absorption by that wooden fence, which will also lend to heating up and getting more sunlight into this spot for the tomatoes to grow. And I wanted to get a little bit of a video. I began weeding. You see I got a little pile of weeds here ready. And I want to show you what livened soil looks like. Just look at this. This is livened soil. Look at how easy my hand goes through it. Now this, I don't know what that is. That might be part of the last tomato. I don't know, but I don't want that in it right now. I'll throw it over there to my buffering strip. Look at all the nice stuff in here. Oh my God. This is just beautiful. I'm not even pointing the camera. So let's do the camera. Let's do this over again. Now this is the soil here that I'm working up. I'm going to be planting the tomatoes in, and I want you to see this. Look at that. Just look at this. Isn't that marvelous? That is from 6 years of making aerobic compost. What I've done is I've created conditions for soil life to thrive. And they live and they die and they secrete, and all kinds of other critters are attracted here. They want to come and live here. They want to eat here. And all of this has resulted, all this activity has resulted in such marvelous soil. What there was here before I started gardening, this was actually a old farm field. And the topsoil is very thin. There were some layers where, I mean, it was just a covering of topsoil, not even, 1/16 of an inch. And then below that was sand. There's a few little pockets of tiny bits of clay, but mostly it's sand. But now I can dig down 2 or 3 feet, and this is what we're going to find. All because of all the composting I've done to feed soil life. So let's kind of also treat this as a before shot, and I'm going to plant the tomatoes, and then I'll give you an after shot. So now we have the area weeded. Stinging nettles I removed as well. I pulled them out as far down as I could, and there are still roots down in the soil that are going to resprout, and that's okay because tomatoes are companion plants with stinging nettles. But it's going to take some time, and that time is going to be what it takes to have the tomatoes get acclimated and start to grow. So they'll kind of grow up together, the timing of it. You see I kind of dug a trough right there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bury these comfrey leaves in that trough as I dig the hole for the tomatoes, the holes. And then I've got the stinging nettles here. I'm going to top cover that immediate front area with the stinging nettles as a mulch. So now time to put the tomatoes in. We are in. For the record, I'm going to call this the Bricker Tomato Fence. And don't know how they're going to do here. I did have good results last year with 2 tomato vines. Now I'm putting in 4. We're going to test the limits of our soil. And in the corner we have Brandy, Red, and then we have Mr. Stripey. Well, Mr. Stripey isn't looking so good, so we're going to watch that. And then we have Black Crim and Sun Gold. You know what, I got room for one more here. Let's make it 5 because I forgot I had this one to the side. Chadwick Che. Let's put that one in now. Alright, now I have 5 tomatoes. This is about an 8-foot section. And then the last one is this Chadwick. Never heard of it. Well, we're going to find out how it grows. I also have these used mayonnaise containers, and I cut the bottoms out of it. I'm going to put those over the top of the tomatoes for protection. Then I'm going to work these cages over the top. So we'll see what that looks like when I'm done. Oh, and by the way, that trough that was in the front, that all has been buried with comfrey leaves. So just to make a reminder of that. Give you a quick rundown on what I'm doing with these tomato cages. The single tomato cages really aren't enough. You know, these tomato plants get really heavy and they actually grow quite tall. There are vines. So what I did was I stuck one tomato cage, here's a single, into another one, here's another, and the top one is inside the bottom one for the first round of wire, and then I snaked the end pieces that you put into the ground. I snaked those around the outside of the second one and then back inside of the bottom one. So now it's kind of tied in there. And to provide additional support, I tie them together with the spaling twine. And I have a long end here. I'm going to tie that up to something above the cage to hold the cage up. So I'm going to do that with each of the cages. Alright, we're finished with the caging of the bricker wall tomatoes. And you can see how I tied this all up to the shelf above. And this one was long enough that it fit over the little curl here. So that's solid. I tied a few of them together, because especially the center one, because there's nothing directly above the center one here to tie to, like there is on the others. So this center one is tied to the two alongside of it, on each side of it. And then this one is tied underneath that support of the shelf. And then the last one, the one in the corner, Mr. Brandy, or Mrs. Brandy, I don't know, it's Brandy Red anyway, is tied to the fence beyond that. So I think everything is going to kind of push that one to the corner anyway. And if things change, I can modify it a little bit. So I got a couple more things yet before the bricker wall is done. Oh, and we do have a side benefit of this project. We have comfrey roots that we can replant, and I have stinging nettle roots. I like stinging nettle as a border. So the critters, you know, they don't want to be stung either. If we can border the property with stinging nettles, won't stop intruders, but definitely slow them down, make them think twice. They're going to have to really want to come on the property. And they'll be itching on the way back out. Okay, thanks again for watching. Saturday morning, June 1st. We are in cold climate, zone number 5, intercontinental North America, on the shores of Lake Michigan, or at least probably a mile and a half from the shore of Lake Michigan. Worthy of note because it provides a maritime effect here. Our bricker tomato wall project is complete. Every one of them has a container that the bottom was cut out of to protect them from, I don't know, cut borers, stem borers, or whatever you call them, and all types of other things that might want to feed on them. Provides a little bit of heat for these young plants. And what we have here is a wooden wall behind, and this wooden wall provides a microclimate. First of all, it shields the plants from the cold north wind that happens from time to time here in this area. Coming from the north, it's coming from the North Pole. The weathermen here call them Canadian fronts, cold fronts. And at the same time, the sun is shining down into this, and the wall is retaining heat, which radiates through the night hours. Also does a little bit of reflection. And there's one more thing here that I didn't add before, and that is this bricker fella sent me 2 tomatoes that I really wasn't aware of before. They're called tumblers. And this is tumbler red and tumbler yellow. And it's butting up against the hail shield that I just built yesterday. But since they tumble out of the pots and hang down, they're going to tumble down onto the shelf, maybe even below that a little bit. So we might have a very productive area here. I know I'm experimenting. I'm testing the limits of my livened soil from all that aerobic compost that I've added in over the last 6 years. But that's what it's meant to do. Let's see just what we can grow in this soil. Let's get her all done. And these pots, by the way, are filled with, on the very bottom, I have 1-year-old age cow manure that really didn't break apart. They're still kind of in chunks, and there's a lot of red worms in it. You don't smell manure or anything, so it's definitely, you know, aged and older, and that's only probably on the bottom inch. I actually left the chunks intact, the bottom inch of the pots, and then between them I had still some soil in one of these pots from last year. So the middle of the pots are that soil, and at the top I have compost that I made last year. You can see how nice that is right here. See that? That's compost from last year. And I actually kind of hollowed it out in the center, so it's kind of grooved up towards the edges here. When I water it, the water will go down into the center of the pot instead of running down the sides of the pot and then coming out of these, you know, weep holes at the bottom. We want the water to go down the center. So that's it. This project is finished. How do you say finished in your language? I guess if you're English, it's finished. There's the lineup of cups that came in with their respective variety names. That's how they are set up here along the fence in the same row. Okay, thanks for watching.